Good morning, students. My voice is audible. Can you please confirm? And can you see my screen? Students, can you please respond? My voice is audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. Okay. So let me wait for a few other participants. Then I'll start the session. Okay, fine, students. So let me start the session. So in today's class, we shall going to discuss about this data types. So we are going to discuss about this data types. Now we are going to discuss these data types with respect to Java. We are going to discuss these data types with respect to Java. Right, students? One second, students. Okay, fine. Yeah. So we are going to discuss data types with respect to Java, right? So with respect to Java, totally we have 8 data types. Totally we have 8 data types, and we call all these data types as primitive data types. Okay, we call all these data types as primitive data types. So now this primitive data types has been categorized into three types. The first one is numeric types, the second one is characters, and third one is Boolean. So under numeric types, we have two types. One is integers and second one is floating point numbers. So whenever you want to represent an integers, whenever you want to represent an integers in your programming language, you need to pick the following data types. You need to pick the following data types. And we call all these data types as primitive data types. To be more specific, we call this as integer data types. That is byte, short, int, and long. All these four data types we are going to call it as an integer data types. For example, I want to store a value called 10 in a variable. So what is 10? 10 is an integer, right? So now this 10 I want to store in a variable called a. Okay. Now I need to tell what is the type of this a. So what value I'm trying to store? I'm trying to store an integer value to a. So since I'm trying to store an integer value inside this a, I can pick either byte, I can pick either short, I can pick either int, or I can pick either long. So let us assume that I picked byte. I picked bytes. I picked byte. Okay, I picked byte A. Okay, but there may be cases where there may be situation where you should not pick byte. There may be situations where you should not pick byte. Instead of byte, you need to pick short. Or there may be situations where you can't pick short, but you need to pick a data type called int. Or there may be situations where this int data type does not work. In such a case, you need to go for this long. So all these things we'll discuss in the upcoming slides. So that is when to pick a data type as byte, or when to pick a data type as short, or when to pick a data type as int, and when to pick a data type as long. That we'll see in the upcoming slides, right? So right now, whenever you want to make any type as an integer type, you need to pick either byte, short, int, or long, right? And similarly, under numeric types, we have one more type called floating point numbers. So what is a floating point number? any decimal value we are going to call it as a floating point number. That is 10.2. 10.2 is a floating point number, and this floating point number I want to store in a variable called a. I want to store in a variable called a. Now, what is the type of this variable? The type of a variable is determined by the value which you are trying to store. So here I'm trying to store a floating point value in the variable called a. So since I'm trying to store a floating point value, so in variable call a, I can pick either float or I can pick either double, right? So let me pick double. Let me pick double. Okay. Let me pick double. Okay. Let me pick double. So why I pick double, that we'll see later. Why I have not picked float, that we'll see later, right? So I can pick double or I can pick float. Okay, any type I can pick it. But right now I picked it double instead of float. There may be cases where you want to pick float. In such a case, instead of double, you can write it float, right? And that's all about this numeric types. Okay. So in general, we call this 10. In general, we call this 10 and 10.2 as numeric type. Okay. This 10 and 10.2, we call it as numeric type. But to be more specific, we call this 10 as integers. We call this 10 as integer. And to be more specific, we call this 10.2 as floating point numbers, right? And that's what it is. Yeah. Next, let us move to characters. Okay. A characters represents a character set, like letters and numbers. So letters, the letter is a character and numbers also is a character. For example, you may tell that, sir, 1 is an integer. Yes, you are correct. 1 is an integer. But once you place 1 inside your single quotes, once you place 1 inside your single quotes, and this 1 is going to become a character. Okay. So as you know that anything which is a character must be placed inside your single quotes. For example, I want to see A is a character. Why is a character? Because A I placed in single quotes. Now, is Y is a character? You may say actually Y is not a character. Why Y is not a character? Because anything which is a character must be placed in single quotes. If you don't place in single quotes, let us assume I written Y. I have not placed in single quotes. Since I have not placed in single quotes, we can consider this Y as a variable. So in order to make Y as a character, it's mandated that you need to place in a single quotes. And not only that, a special symbols like at. At is a special symbol. And this special symbol, you can make it as a character by placing it in a single quotes. And not only that, you can consider dot. Dot is also as a character, so we can place it in a single quote. So anything which you place in a single quote will be considered as your character. Anything which you place in single quotes will be considered as a character, like letters and numbers. Any numbers, that is 2. 2 is a number. You can place in a single quote. Okay. You can consider this as your character. Is that right, students? And that's what it is. And next, let us move to Boolean. So, what is this Boolean? See, Boolean also is very, very important. Boolean is a data type which you can find in Java. In Java, you can find a new data type called Boolean. Okay. Suppose the value of a variable is true, a value of a variable is true, or if a value of a variable is false, in such a case, we are going to make that variable type as Boolean. So what I mean to say, for example, let us assume I have a variable called a, and let us assume that I want to store a value called true in this variable. I want to store a value called true in this variable. Now, what's the type of this A? Since I'm trying to store a Boolean value, so we call this true and false. We call this true and false as Boolean values. So since I'm trying to store a Boolean value in the variable called A, and the type of A will be Boolean. The type of A will be Boolean. Okay, the type of A will be Boolean. Is it right, students? So you see that since I'm trying to store a Boolean value in the variable called A, the type of A is Boolean. But here you notice the type of A, I picked as byte. Why I picked as byte? Since I'm trying to store a value called 10. So that's why I picked here byte. Here you see that the same variable A, here I picked double. Why I picked double? Because here I'm trying to store a floating point value, that is 10.2. But here you see that here in the same variable called A, I'm trying to store a Boolean value. Since I'm trying to store a Boolean value, the type of A is nothing but is Boolean. Okay. So these are the important 8 data types which you need to write in your exam in case if you ask to write about data types. Right. So now let us discuss all these data types in detail. So let me clear my drawings. Yeah. Yeah. So here you can see that we have several data types. Here they mention. Okay, we have mentioned several data types. That is integers, long, int, short, and byte. Okay, see, what is the width of this long? The width is nothing but how much memory is allocated for a variable of long type. So, for example, let us assume I have declared a variable called int a. I have declared a variable called int a. Okay, as you know that whenever you declare any variable, a memory is allocated for this variable. So let us assume a memory is allocated for a variable called a. Now the question arises, how much amount of memory is allocated for this variable? So this chart shows that how much amount of memory is allocated for a variable called a. As you see that here I made it the variable a as int. So int is occupying how many bytes of memory? Here they are represented in terms of bits. That is, they are telling int is going to occupy 32 bits. They have written all this value. They written all this value in terms of bits. They written all this value in terms of bits. Okay. So 32 bits is nothing but is equal to 4 bytes. 32 bits is nothing but is equal to 4 bytes. So for variable a, 4 bytes of memory is allocated. So as per this chart, it's not this chart is correct. So as per Java, integer is going to occupy 4 bytes of memory. Okay. Now instead of int, let me make it the same variable as long. Let me make this variable as long a. Now I've declared the same variable a as long. Now since I made this variable a as long, now how much amount of memory is allocated for the variable called a? This chart shows that it's going to occupy 64 bits, and 64 bits is nothing but it is 8 bytes. So 8 bytes of memory is allocated for this variable called a. If you're making the same variable a as long, okay. Similarly, if you make you see that here they made variable b and c as byte. Okay, they have declared variable c, b, and c as byte. So now, so memory is allocated for variable b and memory is allocated for variable called c. So this is variable b and this is variable c. Now, how much amount of memory is allocated for this variable b and c? Since it is byte, so with respect to byte, the chart shows that it's going to occupy 8 bits. 8 bits is nothing but is 1 byte. So 1 byte of memory is allocated for variable b and variable c. And similarly for short, as you notice, short is going to occupy 16 bits. So it's going to occupy 16 bits. 16 bits is nothing but is, it is nothing but is 2 bytes. As you see that here I have declared two variables s and t. So how much amount of memory is allocated for this s? The memory allocated for variable s is nothing but is 2 bytes. So 2 bytes of memory is allocated for variable s. Not only variable s, for variable t also, same 2 bytes of memory is allocated. Okay. So this chart is very, very important. This chart determines how much amount of memory is allocated for long, int, short, and then byte. And not only that, and the third column also is very, very important. The third column says that what is the possible values, what is the possible values a byte variable can hold, and what are the possible values a short variable can hold, and what are the possible values an integer variable can hold, and what are the possible values a long variable can hold. Let me illustrate with a small example. Okay, now, let me declare a variable as byte. Okay, byte. I declare variable as byte a, byte a, and let me assign the value of this is 126. I have assigned the value as 126. Okay. Now, so what's going to happen once I declare a variable, a memory is allocated for this variable. A memory is allocated for this variable called a. And what value I'm trying to store in this a? I'm trying to store a value called 126. Now I can store 126 in this variable called a. Yes, I can store. How I can tell? So here the range says that, so these are the possible values a byte can hold. That is, it begins from minus 128. It goes up to 127. Now you see that 126 is a number. 126 is a number which falls in this range. That is, 126 falls in the range from minus 128 to 127. And therefore, I can store 126 in a variable called a. Not only 126. Suppose I want to store minus 126. Okay, please mute your mic. Please, you are disturbing me. Please mute your mic. Forgot to send 1 second, students. I forgot to send link to detailed students. Uh, 1 second, please stay online. I forgot to send link to detailed students. Yeah, fine. Uh, is it fine, students? So now you see that I put minus 26. Now inside variable a, I'm trying to store a value called minus 126. minus 126 falls in this range. Yes, minus 126 falls in this range. So since minus 126 falls in this range, a variable a of byte can hold a value called 126, right? Now let me change the value. Let me change the value. Let me pick my eraser. Now let me pick my eraser. Okay, let me pick it. Let me pick it. Yeah. Now, now let me store a value called 129. Let me store a value called 129. Okay. In variable call a, what will I'm trying to store? I'm trying to store a value called 129 in variable a. Now 129 falls in this range. What's the maximum value a byte can hold? The maximum value a byte can hold is 127. It can hold 127. But what I'm trying to store? I'm trying to store 129, which is out of range. Since I'm trying to store out of range, so it is not possible to store 129 in variable call A. Okay, it's not possible to store 129 in variable call A. But how to store a value 129 in variable call A? So in order to store 129 in variable call A, what I should do? Instead of byte, so replace byte. So let me erase this. So what you should do, you replace byte. So you should not use byte. So instead of byte, what you should use? You should use short. You need to use short. You should use short. Is it right? Is it right? Short A equal to 129. You see that what is the range of values it can take? Let me erase this. What is the range of values it can take? As you see the students. Okay. You see that what's the range of values it can take? It can take from minus 3276 to 32767. As you see that I want to store a value called 129. I want to store a value called 129. And this 129 is going to fall in this range, in the range of short. So therefore, I have replaced byte with short. Is it right, students? Is right. So therefore, now I can store a value called 129 in the variable call here. Since 129 falls in this range, right? Now, now, let me assume. Now let us assume that I want to store a value called. Uh, uh, now I want to store a value called 32. I want to store a value called 32768. Okay, I want to store a value called 32768. Now students, I can store a value called 32768. I can store 32768. So what's the type of A? The type of A is short. And what's the maximum value it can store? The maximum value it can store is 32767. But what I want to store? I want to store 32768. 32768 is out of this range. So since it is out of this range, I can't store this 32768 in a variable called A. So in order to store, what I should do? I have to change my data type. So what I need to do? I need to change my data type. How I can change? I need to change from short to int. I need to change from short to int. Now I should change from short to int a. Now what's the value I want to store? I want to store a value called 3232768. 32768. You see that this 32768 falls in this range. You see that what's the maximum value it can store? The maximum value int can store is nothing but this value. And you see that this value falls in this range. So therefore, I can pick a data type called int. So that's why the range is very, very important. The range is very, very important. The range determines what is the maximum or what is the range of value you can store in a variable of particular data type, right? That's very, very important. I hope you understood what's the importance of this range and what's the importance of this width. It's nothing but the amount of memory a particular data type is going to occupy, right? Yeah, yeah, students, that's fine. So let me clear my drawings. Yeah, and okay, this type promotion I'll discuss later. Okay, this type promotion. But anyhow, okay, fine. This type promotion I'll discuss later. Let me clear my drawings. And now let us discuss about this floating point types. So what is this floating point type? So whenever you want to declare any variable as float, how to declare? Suppose here high temp is a variable, low temp is a variable. Now these two variables I want to declare as a float. So what I've done, I prefixed the variable called float. Okay. So for floating point types, what is floating point type? Just now discussed. 10.23 is a floating point value. 10.23 is a floating point value. And this floating point value you want to store in a variable called A. Okay. And the type of this variable A can be either double or it can be either float. Okay. If you make it float, if you make it the variable A as a float, it's going to occupy 32 bits. That's very, very important. You see that the width in bits, that's very, very important. It is not byte. So you want to convert to byte, it is nothing but is 4 bytes. It is nothing but is 4 bytes. And similarly, you want to make this as double. You want to make this as double, that is double A. You want to make this as double A. In such a case, is going to occupy 8 bits. 8 bits is nothing but is, sorry, 8 bytes. 8 bytes is nothing but is 64 bits. Okay. You can make it either double or you can make it as a float. And what's the range of value is going to take? And just now discuss about range. So is the range of values it is going to take. Okay. So if you want to store very, very big value, in such a case, you should always go for this double. So double is going to occupy the large range of float values. Okay. Now floating point values. And that's what it is. Yeah. So next followed by characters. And this characters is very, very important. Okay. So characters. Okay. I hope. See. Let me do this. Int a int a equal to 10. Int a equal to 10. Now what's going to happen? A memory is allocated for this a. A memory is allocated for this variable called a. And inside this a, what I'm trying to store a value called 10. Now let me declare one more variable, that is char c equal to x. So why I placed in single quotes? What's the type of C? The type of C is nothing but is character. Since the type of C is character, so the value of a character must be placed in single quotes. Now inside C, what I'm trying to store? I'm trying to store a character called X. That's what we'll be thinking. That is wrong. Inside C, okay, inside C, we are not going to store a character. That's wrong. Inside C, we are not going to store a character. That is wrong. That is wrong. We are not going to store a character. But what we are going to store? What we are going to store? That's very, very important. You need to understand. See, when you're trying to store a character in a variable, we are not going to store the exact character, but what we are going to store, instead of storing a character, for every character will have a corresponding ASCII2 value. Okay, every character will have a corresponding ASCII2 value. Probably you might have studied this ASCII2 values with respect to your C. Okay, every character will have a corresponding ASCII2 value. So with respect to x, what's the ASCII2 value? The ASCII2 value of x is nothing but is 88. The ASCII2 value of x is nothing but is 88. Now here, instead of storing x, okay, instead of storing x, what I'll be storing? I'll not be storing x. But instead of storing x, what I'll be storing? I'll be storing the corresponding ASCII2 value. And what's the ASCII2 value? Just now we have discussed. It is nothing but is 88. I'm going to store 88. That's very, very important. You need to observe. We are not going to store the character called x, but instead of storing the character called x, we are going to store this ASCII2 value. Now, listen very carefully. This ASCII2 value is true with respect to C and C++. C and C++, that's very, very important. C and C++ uses ASCII2 values to represent characters. That is character X, that's what I said. Character X is represent with an ASCII2 value called 88. An ASCII2 value called 88. Is that right? Every character will have a corresponding ASCII2 value. Okay. Now, this ASCII2 value is true with respect to C++. But whereas in Java, this ASCII2 is replaced with this Unicode. In Java, there is no concept of ASCII2, but instead of ASCII2, they have used this Unicode. Unicode is also similarly, that is every character, that is character X. This character X will also have a corresponding Unicode value. Let us assume that Unicode value for this character X is also 88. Let us assume the Unicode value for this character X also is 88. So now with respect to Java, when you write character C equal to X, I'm going to store the corresponding Unicode value inside this variable called C. Okay, so this 88 is nothing but is an Unicode value. It's nothing but is an Unicode. It's a Unicode. It's a Unicode. It's a Unicode value. Okay, we are not going to say unique means unique. You can think something. UNI stands for unique. Unique code means every character will have a unique code. As the name says, UNI stands for unique. Unique code. Every character will have a unique code. For example, let us pick a character called Y. This character Y is having a unique character, a unique code called 89. 89. Okay, the most important thing is we are trying to store a character in a variable. We are not storing the character. Instead of character, we are going to store the corresponding Unicode value. Okay, every character will have a corresponding Unicode value, and that Unicode value we are going to store inside our a character variable. Okay, there's a first difference between, is a very important difference between a C++ and Java. Okay, so C++ represents every character in terms of ASCII2 values, whereas a Java represents every character in terms of Unicode. Okay, that's the first difference. Next, see, with respect to Java, a character occupies 8 bits. Sorry, a character is going to occupy 16 bits. Okay, with respect to Java, a character is going to occupy 16 bits. 16 bits is nothing but is going to occupy 2 bytes of memory. But whereas with respect to C and C++, a character is going to occupy 8 bit, that is 1 byte of memory is allocated for this character, right? So here right now I've declared a variable C as character. Now how many bytes of memory is allocated? Since it's a Java code, the amount of memory allocated for this character C, that is sorry, for a variable C, is nothing but is 2 bytes. If the same thing if I done in C++, in such a case it's going to occupy 1 byte. So memory allocation also varies. And not only that, what's the range of values a character is going to take? The range of values a character is going to take in Java, it is 0 to 65,536. Whereas the range of values a character takes in C or C++, it is minus 128 to 127. Okay, as I said, every character will have a corresponding Unicode value. So every Unicode value will be mapped in this range. In this range, you are going to map it. Okay. The why they moved, so why they moved from ASCII to Unicode. When you pick an Unicode, so a Unicode represents all characters in all human languages. Means let us assume suppose I want to represent a character in Latin. So with respect to this Unicode, I can represent a character in Latin. For example, I want to represent a character in Japanese. In such a case, with respect to this Unicode, I can represent a character in Japanese. That's what it says. With respect to Unicode, I can represent all human languages. So any human language, what we can do, we can represent with respect to Unicode, but that is not in the case of ASCII2. Okay, probably with respect to ASCII2, we can represent only English language. I am not sure about it. English or some other language it may represent. But with respect to Unicode, we can represent all human languages. It can be any language we can represent using Unicode. How we can represent? That's what I said. Every character will have a corresponding Unicode value. So I'm not sure about these Unicode values, and let us assume that Unicode value of X is nothing but is 88. Okay. Now, see, next is, this is also very, very important. A character can be operated like integers. That's very, very important. A character can be operated as integer. For example, let us assume, uh, let us assume, see, what he's telling, okay, I would declare, let me pick, let me change my marker. See, let me do it. I declare char. Let me declare variable called char. C equal to X equal to X. Since a character, I should place in single quotes, right? I have declared X. Next, what I'm doing C plus plus, C plus plus. What is C? C is a variable. C is a variable. And what's the type of variable? It's a character. Okay. C. And I'm doing C plus plus. I can increment the character. I can increment the character. See, for example, let us assume, let me do like this. Int C equal to 10. Int C equal to 10. Next, I have done C plus plus. I have done C plus plus. What I'm trying to store here, inside C, I'm trying to store a value called 10. So inside C, I'm trying to store a value called 10. When you write C++, what is C++ means? I'm trying to increment by 1. That's what it is, C++. Now the value is going to become 11. So I can do arithmetic operations. A character can be operated like integers. Means operate is nothing but here what I'm trying to do, here I'm trying to perform an arithmetic operation, that is C++, right? Now here same thing you see, as you see that for character, see, so for character what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to perform some arithmetic operation. Is it possible I can perform arithmetic operations on character? Yes, it is possible. Why it is possible? Just now discussed. You see that when I'm trying to store a character, so let us assume I'm going to allocate memory for this C. When I'm trying to store the character, I'm not storing X, but what I'm trying to store, I'm trying to store the corresponding Unicode value. Let us assume the Unicode value of is standing by is 88. So now what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to increment, that is C++. It's nothing but from 88, what I'm trying to do, I'm changing from 88 to 89. I'm changing from 88 to 89. So therefore, I can perform arithmetic operations. So that's what it says. Character can be operated like integers. So what operations you can perform on integers? What operations you can perform on integers? The same operations you can perform on characters. Why? Because internally, that's what I said. Internally, a character will be stored as Unicode value. All these Unicode values are nothing but they are integer values. As you see that all these Unicode values are integer values, and therefore you can perform all arithmetic operations on characters, right? I hope you understood this. In case you have any questions, you can ask. So let me clear my drawings. Let me go to the next slide. And can you please tell the output of this program, students? Come on, make it fast. Can you please tell the output of this program? Yes, make it fast. You see that here I have declared a character variable called ch1, right? So memory is allocated for this ch1. So how much memory is allocated for character? How much memory? 2 bytes of memory is allocated for this character variable. Why? Because the type is character. Inside this ch1, what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to store a character called X. So I'll be storing X inside the CS1? No, I won't be storing X. What I'll be storing? I'll be storing the corresponding Unicode value for this X. And what's the Unicode value for this X? I'm not sure. So let us assume that the Unicode value for this X is nothing but is 88. So let us assume the Unicode value for this X is nothing but it is 88. And next what I'm doing, ch contains ch1. See students, here not what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to print the value which is present in ch1. What value is there inside ch1? It is 88. Now when I'm trying to print the value, I'm going to convert this Unicode value back into character. In other words, I'm going to print it as X. I'm going to print it as X. When I'm printing, I'm going to print the corresponding character value. Okay, but while I'm storing for character, the corresponding Unicode value is there. That Unicode value I'm trying to store it. While I'm printing, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to print the corresponding character of this Unicode value, that is X. So therefore here I'll be printing X. Next, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to increment CH++. So since I'm trying to increment, so 88, so 88 will be changed to 88 will be changed to 89. 89. And next, what I'm trying to do, CH is now I'm trying to print the value of CH1. Now, what's the Unicode value here I'm having? The Unicode value is nothing but it is 89. So 89 represents is nothing but it is Y. So therefore, I'm going to print a value called Y. Is it right, students? So corresponding Unicode value for this 89 is nothing but this Y. So therefore, the output is CH contains X and CH is now Y. So is the output we are going to get it. I hope you understood this. You see that we can perform an arithmetic operations. We can perform arithmetic operations on character. Why we can perform arithmetic operations on character? Because internally a character is stored as an integer value. This integer value we are going to call it as an Unicode value. Okay. I hope you understood this. So any questions, students? Any questions? No questions. That's well and good. Okay. These booleans I have declared. I have discussed. Booleans have two values. Booleans have two values. It can be either true or it can be either false. We call these two as boolean values. We can call these true and false. We call these true and false as boolean values. We call these true and false as boolean. Okay. We call this as boolean values. We call this as boolean values. Okay. So when this Boolean value is written, Boolean type is written by all relational operators. All relational operators is going to return this Boolean value. What are relational operators? Less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, not equal to. All these are relational operators. All these are relational operators. So all these relation operators, all this relation operator is going to return a Boolean value. What's a Boolean value? A Boolean value can be either true or it can be either false. For example, let us assume the value of a, let us assume, or you can do it something like this. I can do it like this. 10 is greater than 9. Okay, 10 is greater than 9. Is 10 is greater than 9, students? Yes, 10 is greater than 9. You see that what is this greater than symbol? A greater than symbol is nothing but a relational operator. As I said that a relational operator always returns Boolean value. It returns either true or false. Since 10 is greater than 9, it's going to return a Boolean value called true. It's going to return a Boolean value called true because 10 is greater than 9. Okay. Now same thing, let me write like this. 9. 9 is greater than 10. 9 is greater than 10, students. The 9 is not greater than 10. So therefore, it returns a Boolean value called false. It returns a Boolean value called false. It returns a Boolean value called false. So what is the greater than symbol? Is a relational operator. So all relational operators is going to return a Boolean value. And similarly, you can check it like this. 10 is equal to 10 is equal to 9. Okay. Is it 10 is equal to 9? No, 10 is not equal to 9. So therefore, it's going to return a Boolean value called false. You see that equal to equal to. What is equal to equal to? Equal to equal to is a relational operator. So all relation operator is going to return a Boolean value. That is either true or false. Okay. And that's what it says. So let me clear my drawings. And next important thing, string type. String type is not, very good, is not a primitive data type. You should be very careful. Okay. String is not a primitive data type. String is an inbuilt class in Java. Okay. In other words, string is a predefined class in Java. As you see that S is written in uppercase. You see that in string S we are going to write in uppercase, as I discussed several times, right? So anything which is in uppercase we are going to call it as a class name. Okay. So as you compare with primitive types, when you check the primitive types, let me scroll up. Let me scroll up. As you see that here, all are primitive types. You see that B is in lowercase, S in lowercase, I. You see that all primitive types will be in the lowercase. You see that all primitive types or all data types will be in the lowercase. So string, when you take it a string type, STRING, we'll write string A. We'll write string A. A is a variable. Let me put space. String, string, string A equal to hello. He. Let me write he. Okay, you see that? Here. You see here. Okay. As you see here, a string is not a primitive type, or string is not a data type. Okay, string is a inbuilt class. Since it's an inbuilt class, as you see that S we are going to write in uppercase. S is going to write in as uppercase. The most important thing, string is not a primitive data type. Okay, what is the string? String is a predefined class. Okay, string is a predefined class. Okay, that's what we should know. Yeah. Students, can you please tell the output of this program? I'm sorry. Yeah. Can you please tell the output of this program? Come on, make it fast. Students, the session gets terminated. You can use the same link to rejoin again. Okay. Can you please tell the output of this program? Yes, come on, think over it. The output.